to the Zandbergen Report, where wealth strategies and investment wisdom collide, featuring your distinguished host and certified financial planner, Bart Zandbergen.
Hello, everyone. It's Letitia Burbaum. I am the guest host today of the Zandbergen Report, Wealth Strategies and Investment Wisdom, and I'm so excited for today's show. I have two of the three founding authors, two of the three founding partners.
Take two.
Of nonfiction. So I have Katie, Mark, and Dave is not actually able to join us today. So thank you guys so much for being in the studio.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
And you know what they're part of? They're not an ad agency. They're not a marketing firm. They are an integrated marketing agency.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Does that mean you have people from different parts of the world? Is that what integration means? Integrated marketing just means you have people from around the world there? No, I'm just trying to make a bad joke here.
All marketing should be integrated, but it's surprising how many marketers struggle to do that, so we help.
Can I tell you a real quick story, and then I'll let you guys launch into this here? I always have to tell a story.
We love it, Paul.
I had a PR agency back in the 70s and 80s. I'm sorry, back in the 80s and 90s. I'm not that old. Back in the 80s and 90s. Still pretty old. And we handled celebrities and Johnny Mathis and all that stuff. So we did PR. That was it. And then somebody else did ads. And somebody else did in-store stuff. We never met with them. We never talked to all of them. We started working with corporate clients, and I'd walk in and say, the website is purple and the logo is green and something else has flames on it because everybody else did their own thing. We never integrated marketing. We all just came in and did a little specialty and we went home.
Right. It's different. It's a bit of a different world. All those lines that aren't supposed to cross.
Oh.
Now people want more. They expect more. Mark, do you want to break into a little bit about what you do at Nonfiction and what is nonfiction?
Sure. Well, I think so. Katie was here just a little over a year ago on this podcast talking with you. And at that point, both Katie and I, who had worked at the same agency.
It's a little scratchy, Paul.
I know. It's his voice here. We got to get him a little closer to the mic.
Oh.
There he goes. Let's get him like that. Let's see how that works. Try that.
All right. So I think it was just a little over a year ago that Katie was here on your podcast.
Yeah.
And at that point, Katie and I, we had both worked at the same agency previously.
Yeah.
Down in San Diego. We had met up. We actually had drinks and dinner right here in Orange County. And we both kind of found ourselves in the same spot.
Yeah.
We loved what we did. We loved a lot of the brands that we were working with, and we wanted to do more.
Right.
And it didn't quite feel like the perfect fit within a large agency holding company.
Right.
And so we decided, after a brief chat, that we both wanted to go out and do it on our own, but we didn't want to do it ourselves.
Hold on, I'm just going to interrupt here. I'm going to add a little bit more texture. So because I've known Katie for many years, and I know just the idea of going on your own seems okay, but the reality is you guys were at the top of your games. You guys were incredibly sought after in people you were working for. Actually, you were employed for companies, and people would seek you guys out for your specialties. And the idea of walking away from something that is so secure and so safe to create your own, to be able to see your vision and your brand really develop, I know that was terrifying, right? And that leap, and a lot of people are in that spot. And I would love for you, I know that you were going to go down this path yet, but I love for either of you guys just to chime in and just share that leap of faith of being like, okay, I'm going to start my own company and we're going to give it a try. And I know I'm going to believe in my success and my experience. And like you said, you guys connected, but that transition and that process, either of you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. I know I had worked with Mark pretty closely the place where we came from. And so we had that level of trust and understanding of each other's, I think, work rate and just how driven we both were. And we knew how each other performed in the workplace. So that was helpful. I think also having partners do something like this with you makes it a lot less scary, because it's one thing to say I'm leaving that stable environment where I'm going to have a steady check, and if a client goes away, there's always another, to saying I have to bring in the clients, I have to work on the clients, I have to keep the business growing, make sure everyone's happy all the time. But in the end, that was actually more easier in a way,
Yeah.
because it's truly your own animal, and we're building our own kind of kingdom with it. And then Mark and Dave knew each other better than I had known Dave, because I hadn't worked with him previously, so there was that level of comfort. And so we were able to all say we worked together enough, or had the same background, and so we had very similar beliefs and feelings about our careers to date, and we're ready to do it together, and that made it more comfortable.
But something what Paul brought up a moment ago, which speaks to me as well, is when he had his ad agency, it was just one specific niche.
Right.
Yeah.
And to want to talk about why the three of you guys complement each other.
Yeah. So at first, as I was saying, it was just Katie and I, and
Yeah.
you know, it sounded like such a simple idea at the time,
Yeah.
to just say, why don't we just, because I had already left the agency that I was with. I realized it wasn't right for me.
So you already made the decision.
And I'd made the decision. I just didn't know what was next.
Yep.
And it just came up in the conversation, and it just felt natural. We had worked together. We our skill sets complemented our, the types of companies we'd worked for complemented. They weren't direct overlaps, but they worked complementary with each other. And so we thought it would be a great fit, that we could bring both of our diverse skill sets and backgrounds and experience to clients together and provide more value than either of us could do on our own.
And yours was specifically?
Mine is in digital marketing and advertising.
And Katie,
I'm
yours?
more PR and content,
And then David's?
Yeah.
creative genius
Dave
behind
is
a lot
creative
of it.
genius, and
Yeah.
he was supposed to be here, as you know, but
Yeah.
he's actually filming a TV commercial, nonfiction, first TV commercial that we're involved in, with a major NFL celebrity. So he apologizes for it, but creatives need to be where the creative's happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this just goes to show, like, people are continuing to seek you guys out for your knowledge and expertise and what you guys do for a company. Now, do you guys, either Katie or Mark, do you guys want to break into a little bit about what your company is? I know we've kind of dabbled about you guys making the transition, and that was scary, but
Yeah.
tell us, what is nonfiction?
Well, I think I think Paul had said the word integrated, and we say that a lot of the marketing community thinks that should be it's table stakes these days. But a lot of marketers, and we're finding this, as we are forming our own small business, and we're very much a part of companies' marketing teams. Most agencies say you can see us as an extension of your marketing team. We actually are, and that we'll go to their quarterly planning meetings, and we're working with the sales teams and figuring out how to support them from a marketing standpoint and what messages are resonating with their target audiences. But the thing is we're seeing, even at mid-sized to large-sized companies, integration isn't really happening. And
Can you identify what that
so the
qualifies?
different parts of marketing that should be working together. So everything that happens in PR should support what's happening for lead gen. So if there's a campaign that's resonating with the buying audience for a company, everything else should support that.
Okay.
And a company should put its resources and its talent and its time behind that. And we're seeing, strangely and surprisingly, that doesn't occur. And I think at a larger agency, you are very involved at the strategic level for a time.
Okay.
But here, now that we've started our own company, we're able to offer that in a way that most other agencies can't, because we all bring 20 plus years of experience. We don't want to get too big for our britches. We want to work with good companies, smart people, smart marketers and the executives that they work with, and help them develop that company's message, help them get the right exposure to the right audiences, and repeat what's working. And a lot of times we're finding, because the integration doesn't happen at the client level, at the company level, there's a lot of time and money wasted.
Like a disconnect or
Disconnect.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out whether that's because I would say the mid-level managers that are hired in marketing don't know
Right.
about how to integrate effectively or cohesively, whether they feel comfortable doing that, or there's just so much siloing going on still.
and they're not implementing the plan because they're not getting the vision from the very top to go all the way down to
Right.
the people
That's
who
exactly
are
right.
actually putting out the information.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been interesting for us to see that occur and to figure out why that happens. And I don't know if we've nailed down why that happens just yet, but when we identify it, we're able to go in and say, right hand should be talking to left hand. Let's make sure these groups are working together and planning together so that everything works together and you can get better results quicker.
And you're training the teams to be able to be more successful with this communication process.
And to lean on each other and integrate and truly integrate. So when you shouldn't have to say integrated before the word marketing, these days it's just not happening quite enough. So we're able to help provide that expertise.
Will this be the death of the single service agencies, the ad agency, the PR agency, the digital agency, people who built your website and left, people who got press releases and then walked away, people who designed your creative genius, who designed the ad, but it had nothing to do with all the other parts of the marketing campaign?
It's a
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think what we've seen for the past few years is that the whole PR world, the advertising world, the digital world, they've all started to blend together.
Yeah.
And where you had a lot of separate agencies doing individual tasks and siloed to mirror the way that organizations and brands were structured internally,
Yeah.
that's changing. And
Yeah.
but the way that a lot of companies have gone about it, there's really two paths to that. Large agencies and mid-sized agencies have hired, say a PR agency will hire someone from an advertising agency, or an advertising agency will hire someone with a social media background.
They're blending
And so
the experience.
they're trying, but what
Okay.
they're doing is they're taking someone who's in a wholly owned discipline, putting them into the mix in their agency, but they don't really understand the functions and the things that are going around. And agencies are not really structured to do a lot of education and training
Yeah.
on things that are not directly related to their job, or quote unquote not related to their job.
Yeah.
The other thing is sometimes they'll buy an entire agency and plop that in, but that's another P&L that someone needs to manage and needs to drive revenue for.
Right.
And there's not a lot of good revenue sharing that goes on between even sister agencies.
And
Yeah.
the value isn't passed down to the client because the agency gets so obsessed with growing
Yeah.
that the customer loses out in the end because the company has to figure out, how do I integrate with this company I just bought? And so our value proposition, I think a large reason why we decided to work together is because we can offer that as a small firm with experienced founders that the teams we're building are only with people we've worked with, helped trained alongside, so that we already know they're good. So the customer doesn't get handed off to someone young.
You
Yeah.
hit another hot button for me. When I was doing this in the 80s and 90s, everybody had a boutique agency, and we all specialized in something. There was a PR firm, and we might have
Right.
even just specialized in a certain type of client, auto cars or something. We had a whole bunch of them or something. Then they all started getting rolled up. The PR firms got rolled up. The ad agencies got rolled up. The digital agencies, and now you've got these mega agencies out there, offices all over the world, tons of employees, every service. And talk about that trend, because the boutique agencies I was with in the 80s grew out of that same experience. Why didn't we learn anything? Why did we allow ourselves to get rolled up into big agencies again here?
But I want to add one more thing is I am currently seeing what you guys are doing and providing, and I can say for myself, we use multiple agencies to be able to come up
Yeah.
with the end
Right.
plan, and there's so much either overlap or disconnect or discommunication because the visions are different in their individual organizations. And so at the end of the day, if you're able to provide something that's cohesive and it affects all different areas of the marketing, the branding, the PR, the social media, the whole 9 yards, then like you said, that's great. Do you guys have an example of what you guys do with a client that does
Yeah.
this?
So great example is probably our first client, which we won just about a year ago. And we started off on a project to help them redo their messaging,
Okay.
their positioning and messaging. So what are the outward and inward messages that they are going to try and repeat on a consistent basis so that people clearly understand what it is that they do and what benefit they bring to their clients. And that
Are you allowed to say an example? Can you share like a specific example of that client? No.
Well, I think just in terms of helping them differentiate in a crowded market
Got it.
without naming the company.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it's an extremely crowded market,
Yeah.
and there's thousands of companies that do what they do, and everybody says they do something different, but a lot of them really do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just the level to which that they do it. And so our first project with them was really to define what makes them them.
Got it.
And so we helped tell their story. And that went really well. And they eventually then hired us to take on their PR. They were building up a whole new marketing team, so we did some placeholder work for them in digital marketing to get all of their digital marketing channels set up and optimized, and then provide real creative muscle. And I think that has kind of go on now for 11, 12 months. And what we've seen, we kind of posited in the beginning that as a company grows, especially smaller and medium-sized companies, their needs change on a fairly regular monthly or quarterly basis. And so we've allowed our clients to say, okay, this month I actually don't need to spend all of that in PR. Can I spend some of that money in creative or digital marketing? And that has resonated so well, because you will never have that happen in a medium or large size agency. They're just not structured for it, and they can't accommodate it the way that we can.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, we actually we come up with the idea that, hey, client, let's flex, let's shift gears, because we see this working for you over here. So put more time and energy, and we put therefore our time and their money toward whatever it is that's helping sell product or helping gain exposure. And so that client that Mark was talking about, that's somebody now, that company has more thought leadership. They're putting out more branded content and more active than anyone in the space that we monitored for them before we began. Because we start with a lot of research to help a company understand exactly where it sits from a mind share perspective, share of voice. So I think what we're finding is it's a lot more fun, and we have not more control, but we're really driving and helping companies better than we could before as sort of a cog in a wheel, a really large firm.
So I'm going to ask the question, me being in wealth management, and I know that this is in marketing, it's such a hard connection, but as a company, how do they measure the results of what you guys are doing? Do you have metrics that are like, I am doing this and I know what we're doing is making a difference in your space or your vision to your audience? Is there specific measures that you can say, yes, I know factually that we have moved the needle for you, and this is in turn why you guys want to continue to come to us over and over and over again?
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest things. In fact, I just saw a sign the other day, and it had the word fail on it. But fail was an acronym, and so it was spelled out as first attempt in learning, which is really resonated with me, because it's exactly what I do in digital marketing. I had a whole analytics team previously, and we focus on what is driving the business growth. There's KPIs, or key performance indicators. And so with any client that we work with, we actually determine that up front, because you can, the majority of marketing campaigns are put out there, and the vast majority are not successful at first. They're really opportunities to learn what's resonating, what's engaging, what's driving sales or engagement with your sales team if it's on the B2B side. And so everything we do is based on performance. And it's really determining, from a digital marketing perspective, who's clicking through, who's converting, what are the sales. From a PR perspective, it's not always as easy to determine what that is, because it's earned media, it's on someone else's website. But what you can do is you can overlay dates where you've gotten great media hits, and actually overlay that with your site traffic from Google Analytics or whatever package you're using, and actually see where there's spikes in direct traffic or organic search traffic or paid search traffic. And you can then start drawing a correlation between the stuff that's happening in earned media and actually start tying that to more bottom line numbers, which isn't always easy to do in the communication space.
And I want to correct something I said earlier. I said, we make sure a client doesn't first get strategic insight and then get handed off to someone young. This isn't an ageism thing. It's more that what I think happens often is that a client gets passed off to somebody who's cheaper labor and hungry and willing to work hard and long. But we find that when you build an experienced team with someone who already has the relationships, knows the right vendors to go to, knows how quickly to get the job done, it happens faster, the results happen quicker, and that's how we believe, that's why we're growing our business so quickly. We're retaining clients, we're growing client retainers, we're able to win business on relationship, and it's crazy how quickly a client contact will move on to a new place and come back to us, and that's good. That's a good sign.
That's great. They're following
that's
you.
What we want.
So. And I think our latest client win is not even 2 months old, and it was a really great thing to hear. A month and a half into the relationship,
Yeah.
The CEO of the company, big multi-million-dollar company, doing great, really making moves in the space, actually took time out of the call to tell Katie and the team that's working on their PR initiatives that he thought we were doing a great job. They had actually tried out 3 or 4 other agencies, and they had pretty much lost faith, and they were actually considering pausing PR before they hired us.
Wow.
And so he took time out of the call to really thank the team for what they've done. And I've seen the number of hits that have come in.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's a little unusual, but they're doing such a great job that the CEO personally took time out to actually call that out and say thank you for restoring faith in PR.
That's a big win.
Yeah, I will say it has a lot to do with the client, and this company in particular has a visionary CEO who's really good every other week at saying, here's a core concern of our marketplace. Our prospects are dealing with this issue, and we're able to leverage that nugget and get a lot of attention and place thought leadership opportunities for that executive team. So it helps to have that, because a lot of companies will hire a firm, and as Mark mentioned, I think before we started the podcast, they take off and they expect great results months later, and it's really impactful to have a client that involve your marketing agency, your partner, involve your team, and give them insight and let them leverage that to do good for you. And some of our clients are really good at that.
That's so great. It's so great. So I know we're kind of running out of time. I want to make sure, is there any, I'm going to have 2 questions at the very end. It's our traditional closing question, but is there anything on a business standpoint that you want to make sure that the audience know, or something that you've taken away through this experience, and just, that you want to share with everyone on the air today?
So I think, for me personally, and Katie actually said this earlier in our conversation prior to the podcast, she said it's experience that never leaves. And that's especially crucial when you're working with a larger agency. A lot of times, as Katie mentioned, you'll get junior level people, brought onto the team. We are there from the get-go, from start to finish, and we're constantly able to kind of shift or steady the course if anything starts going off, or if a client says, I need this. We turn around and ask, okay, well, what's the problem, the underlying problem that we're trying to solve? And sometimes the solution is exactly what they asked for, and sometimes it's not. And you have to be confident enough and experienced enough in what you do and how you do it to turn around to a client and say, you know what, that might not be the best thing right now.
Right.
Have you considered this, and here's why?
Yeah, those are great conversations.
That's what they're buying. They're wanting the truth. They're wanting expertise. It's part of why we named ourselves nonfiction, right? We want to make sure we're fair, honest, transparent, because if I'm buying a consultant, I need to trust their expertise, and I'm relying on it. Otherwise, why do I need them?
Yeah.
So I also think that in addition to the experience never leaving, right? If there's an issue with scalability there for us, and we recognize that, and we are okay with that. At this point in our careers, we want to do good work with good companies. And it's so funny, because I was telling my husband about this last night. I need a dog groomer, and I couldn't find a new one. And I found a great one that everyone had recommended, and she said to me yesterday, we're too full. We're chock full of Labradoodles, and we're at capacity. And I thought, what a weird thing. Hire somebody else. And she said, we're just having a great time. We're full. We're doing very well. We've got a successful dog grooming business, and we can't take another client. And I thought, that's sort of where we're headed. We're scaling with experienced, seasoned is a terrible, like, I'm not putting salt and pepper on marketers, but we're hiring people who know what they're doing, and we know that they do because we've worked with them previously. Yep. But there's a point at which we need to ensure we're doing really good work, and we're wanting to be happy with the companies we work with, the people that we work with, and we want to grow and do a great job, but we don't need to get massive. We want to do good work. That's the thing. That's how companies and clients keep coming back to us.
Yeah, that's so great. It's a great secret there. So what's your, and I think you feel like you just may have answered it, but we ask everyone, what's your ultimate lesson learned? And I feel like that you may have answered it, but it could be in life as well. You guys each want to say something?
For me, I think it's, don't be afraid to take the leap.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot of not knowing what we don't know. Yeah. And you have to have faith in yourself and your partners and communicate, but it's such a rewarding experience. I mean, we're a year on, we've got 10 clients now-ish. And it's been such a rewarding experience to know that at the end of the day, we're doing great work. We have a good time working with each other. We're loving the types of stuff we're doing. We're loving the conversations we're having, the people we're meeting. And I think this has probably been the best decision I ever made.
So great. And how about you, Katie?
Yeah, probably along those same lines, but trust the process, because we didn't actually know how easily it would come. And it's really relationship, right? You do good work, you're going to hear from people you've worked with before, and now we're able to do it for ourselves and together, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's so great. Well, how can people find you?
Sure. So we have a website. It's www.nonfictionagency.com.
Okay.
You can also find us with Nonfiction Agency on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Happy to chat with anybody who's looking for help or just has some questions. We love to network and we love to talk and socialize. So. Yeah,
obviously sports. We talked about Dave, but a lot of technology, a lot of B2B, B2C.
Yep.
A lot of verticalized experience too. So financial services, security, cybersecurity,
consumer electronics.
Telecom.
I've worked in pharmaceuticals and biotech, retail, travel. We've worked with some of the biggest brands on the entire planet. So
that's so great.
Wide variety.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I know that you guys are doing really good work, and you guys have an amazing group of clientele, and I'm really proud to have you guys here in the studio. And so I just wanted to wrap up. If you guys want to find out more information, please tune in to the Zandbergen Report, and you can Google that. And we are on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbeam, and if you can go to the same websites, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also our main website as well. My name is Letitia Berbaum. That's Letitia Berbaum, Berbaum, and Bart Zandbergen, who wasn't here today, but he's definitely here in spirit. And both of us have sites as well, and we will be resharing this information. So if you guys have questions, you can tweet us and say you like it and you have more questions for these amazing people. We'll point you in their direction and help you as well. So thank you again, everyone, and tune in next time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Letitia.
Tune in next week for the latest edition of the Zandbergen Report, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Catch up on our recent shows by visiting bartzandbergen.podbean.com. The Zandbergen Report is also available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Interested in being a featured guest on our show, or have a question you'd like to hear us answer? Email podcast@bartzandbergen.com. Bart A. Zandbergen, CFP, and Letitia Berbaum, AIF, are registered investment advisors with Optivest Inc. and registered representatives with Gramercy Securities Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered by Optivest Inc. under SEC registration.
Imagine what it would feel like to lose everything. Your job, your home, your family, your dignity. This has happened to thousands of the men, women, veterans, and young adults we serve at Working Wardrobes. What do we do to help? We provide career development services, life skills workshops, job skills training. We provide the perfect interview outfit, and we get clients placed in jobs. Call Working Wardrobes, 714-210-2460. Donate, volunteer, invest, hire.
Imagine